It happened in an instant. One moment, Ethan Carter was driving home after a long day at work. The next, the sound of screeching tires and shattering glass filled the air. His body was thrown against the seatbelt, and then, darkness. Days later, he woke up in a hospital bed, his head wrapped in thick bandages, the steady beep of machines echoing around him. A woman sat beside him, her eyes filled with relief and tears. She called his name, her voice cracking with emotion. But Ethan felt nothing. He didn't know who she was. The doctors told him she was his mother, that the man standing near the window was his father, that the young woman gripping his hand was his younger sister. But they were strangers to him. They looked like family. But something was wrong. After being discharged, Ethan returned home. But home didn't feel like home. Every corner of the house felt slightly off, like a perfect replica with hidden flaws. He caught himself staring at the family photos on the walls, comparing them to the people who lived in the house. They looked the same, but they weren't. His mother moved around the kitchen making his favorite meal, but there was no warmth in the gesture. His father patted his back, but the touch felt foreign. His sister laughed at an old joke, but her laughter didn't bring him comfort. Ethan avoided them, locking himself in his room at night, whispering to himself, "They are not my family." He started testing them. He'd place objects in specific positions and check if they were moved. He'd watch them from the shadows, studying their behavior. And every time they acted like they were truly his family, the fear inside him only grew stronger. Who were they, really? Ethan stopped speaking to them altogether. Meals were left untouched, conversations ignored. The people in the house, imposters in his mind, tried to reach out, their concern growing. His mother cried at night. His father looked helpless. His sister, once full of life, barely spoke. But Ethan couldn't bring himself to believe them. One night, unable to sleep, he stood in front of the mirror, staring at his reflection. He touched his face, his skin, his hair. It was his body, his eyes. But for the first time, a terrifying thought entered his mind. If they were imposters, was he? Desperate for answers, Ethan started researching. Late at night, his room was filled with the glow of his laptop screen. He found forums, discussions, case studies, stories of people who had suffered from the same terrifying delusion, Capgras Syndrome, a rare condition where the brain recognizes faces but disconnects them from emotional familiarity. The mind turns loved ones into strangers. A doctor was brought in, explaining how his accident had damaged the way his brain processed recognition, that his mind wasn't lying about what it saw, only about what it felt. Ethan listened. He wanted to believe it, but belief didn't come easily. And then, one evening, something changed. He was watching his mother from a distance when she did something small, something so ordinary, yet so deeply familiar. She rubbed her thumb against the palm of her other hand, absent-mindedly. A habit she had always had. A habit she never even realized she did. Ethan's breath hitched. Memories flickered in his mind. The smell of her perfume when she hugged him as a child. The sound of her voice singing to him when he was sick. The warmth of her presence. His mind still whispered, "She is not real." But for the first time in months, his heart hesitated. He stepped closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "Mom?" She turned, eyes wide, and for the first time since the accident, she saw recognition in her son's eyes. Tears streamed down her face as she reached for him, and though a part of him still doubted, he didn't pull away. Ethan wasn't cured. The thoughts didn't disappear overnight. Some days he still looked at his family and felt that creeping unease. But now he understood what was happening to him. He learned to trust the memories, even when his emotions betrayed him. He learned to accept that the love he once felt might not always be there. But that didn't mean it was gone. Because love wasn't just a feeling. Sometimes love was a choice to believe, even when the mind said otherwise. And so every day, Ethan made that choice.